Kira stood in the crowded throne hall of the Black Moon Pack, her hands folded tightly in front of her. Torchlight flickered against the tall stone walls, and hundreds of eyes watched her from every corner of the room. This was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. Today, the mate bond would be sealed. Today, she would stand beside the most powerful Alpha King in the Northern Lands. She had waited years for this moment. From the day she first felt the strange, warm pull toward Darius Thorn, she had believed that fate had chosen well. He was tall and strong, with dark hair and a steady voice that could command a whole hall into silence. When their eyes had met for the first time, she had felt the bond click into place, like two halves finding each other at last. But now, standing before him, she noticed that his gaze was not on her. It rested on someone else. Seraphine. The beautiful Omega stood near the front of the crowd, her golden hair falling in soft waves, her gown shimmering like water in the light. She had arrived at the pack only a few months ago, and in that short time she had charmed nearly everyone with her sweet smile and gentle words. Kira had never fully trusted her, but she had told herself she was only being unfair. Darius stepped forward. The hall grew quiet. "I have felt the bond," he said, his voice carrying to every ear. "I know that fate has tied me to Kira." Kira's heart lifted. She almost smiled. "But I reject it," he finished. The words hit her like cold water. For a moment she thought she had misheard. She searched his face, waiting for him to take it back, to laugh, to say it was a mistake. He did not. "Kira is a plain wolf," he continued, and his voice held no kindness now. "She is ordinary, weak. She has no standing, no gift, nothing that makes her fit to rule beside me. I will not bind my life to someone the pack cannot respect." He turned then and reached out his hand toward Seraphine. "I choose Seraphine. She will be my queen." The hall erupted into murmurs. Some gasped, a few smiled cruelly. Seraphine took his hand and lowered her eyes, but Kira saw the tiny curve of satisfaction at the edge of her lips. Kira could not breathe. She felt the bond tear inside her, a sharp, burning pain that spread through her chest and stole the strength from her legs. She wanted to scream, to beg, to ask him what she had done wrong, but pride, the last thing she had left, kept her standing. "You are cast out," Darius said, not even looking at her now. "Leave the Black Moon Lands by nightfall." No one moved to help her. No one spoke in her defense. Kira turned and walked out of the hall alone, her head held high even as tears blurred her sight. She left with nothing but the clothes she wore, and the sound of whispers following her out the great doors. The road beyond the Packlands was cold and empty. Kira walked for hours without knowing where she was going. The pain of the broken bond throbbed with every step, and by the time night fell, she could barely stay upright. She finally sank down beneath a wide old tree, wrapped her arms around her knees, and let herself cry. She might have given up there. She was tired, hurt, and alone in the world. But a voice broke through the darkness. "You carry a heavy sorrow, child." Kira looked up. An old woman stood a few steps away, leaning on a carved wooden staff. Her hair was white as snow, and her eyes seemed to hold the light of the moon itself. "Who are you?" Kira asked. "Someone who has walked the same road you now walk," the woman said. "Come, you will not survive the cold out here. My home is not far." Too weak to argue, Kira followed. The woman lived in a small stone cottage hidden among the trees, warm and quiet. She gave Kira food and a blanket and let her rest, and in the morning, she told Kira something that changed everything. "You believe you are ordinary," the old woman said. "But you are not. I have seen it in you. Your blood carries the line of the moon priestesses." Kira shook her head. "That line was lost long ago. Everyone says so." "Not lost," the woman replied. "Hidden. Your power was buried deep inside you, sleeping, waiting. That Alpha King called you weak because he could not see what you truly are. Few can." She leaned closer. "If you are willing, I will help you wake what sleeps within you." Kira thought of Darius, of the shame she had felt in that hall, of the way no one had spoken for her. She thought of how easily he had thrown her away. Slowly she nodded. "Teach me," she said. The training was hard, harder than anything Kira had ever known. The old seer pushed her from dawn until dark. teaching her to feel the quiet strength that had always been within her. At first nothing came. Kira failed again and again, and there were nights she wanted to quit. But every time she thought of giving up, she remembered the throne hall, and she rose the next morning to try once more. Then, one day, it happened. A warm silver light gathered in her hands, soft and steady. It grew brighter as she learned to trust it. With time, Kira could do things she had never imagined. She could heal wounds with a touch. She could sense danger before it arrived. She could calm frightened animals and read the mood of a room the moment she entered it. Her strength grew, and with it, her confidence. Seasons passed, then years. Kira left the cottage a very different woman from the one who had wandered in broken and lost. She traveled the northern lands, and everywhere she went, she found others like her old self, people who had been cast aside, forgotten, or told they were worthless. The weak, the outcast, the lonely. She did not turn away from them. She gathered them, she fed them, taught them, and gave them a reason to believe in themselves again. One by one, they followed her. A shy young man, who had been mocked for his limp, became one of her most loyal guards. A widow who had lost everything became her trusted advisor. A group of orphaned pups found in her a mother's care. Kira never told them who she had been. She wore a simple silver mask when she traveled, and the people began to call her the Silver Sovereign. Stories of her spread across the land, of a queen who protected the weak and asked for nothing in return, of a leader who had never once been defeated in her cause. Scattered packs that had been quarreling for years began to unite under her banner, drawn by her fairness and her strength. Meanwhile, far away, the Black Moon pack was falling apart. Darius had married Seraphine, believing he had chosen well, but the beautiful Omega he had picked over his true mate was not what she had seemed. Behind her sweet smiles, Seraphine cared only for herself. She spent the pack's wealth on herself while others went without. Worse, she had been quietly passing the pack's secrets to rival groups, in exchange for favors and gifts, weakening Black Moon from the inside. By the time Darius understood what was happening, it was too late. His allies had turned away. His people had grown angry and tired. The great pack that had once ruled the north was now small, poor, and full of mistrust. And Darius himself was fading. The broken mate bond, the one he had rejected so carelessly, had never truly healed. Rejecting fate came at a price. Little by little, his strength drained away. His sleep was restless, his body weak, his mind heavy with a sorrow he could not name. The healers could do nothing for him. He grew paler and thinner with every passing moon, and deep down, he knew the cause. He had thrown away the one person meant to complete him, and he had been paying for it ever since. One evening, word reached him of a grand council of packs being held to the north. Every leader of note would be there, including the mysterious Silver Sovereign, whose name was now spoken with awe in every corner of the land. Some said she might soon be crowned the true ruler of all the northern packs. Desperate for allies and for any cure that might save him, Darius set out to attend, leaning on the arm of his last remaining guard. The council was held in a vast hall, lit by hundreds of candles. Leaders from every pack filled the seats, whispering and watching. At the far end, upon a raised platform, sat the Silver Sovereign, calm and still, her face hidden behind her mask. Darius stared at her, feeling a strange pull in his chest that he did not understand. When the time came, the Silver Sovereign rose to speak. The whole fell silent. And then, slowly, she reached up and removed her mask. Gasps filled the room. It was Kira. Darius felt the breath leave his body. The plain, ordinary wolf he had cast out, the mate he had called weak and unworthy, now stood before them all as the most respected leader in the land. She was radiant, strong, and sure of herself in a way he had never seen. The whole hall bowed its head to her, and she carried the weight of their respect with quiet grace. Kira's eyes moved across the crowd, and they landed on Darius. For a moment, neither of them moved. She saw how thin he had become, how tired, how far he had fallen. She felt the old ache of the bond stir faintly, a distant memory of pain. The council continued, but Darius could think of nothing else. When it ended, and the leaders began to leave, he pushed forward through the crowd, ignoring the stares. He reached the foot of her platform and, in front of everyone, he sank to his knees. "Kira," he said, his voice breaking, "please, forgive me." The hall went quiet again. All eyes turned to them. "I was wrong," Darius went on, his head bowed low. "I was blind and foolish. I let false beauty and empty words turn me away from the one meant for me. I have lost everything. My pack, my strength, my honor. The bond is killing me. Only you can save me. I beg you, take me back. Restore what we had. Return to me, and rule at my side." Kira looked down at him for a long moment. This was the man who had shamed her before the world, who had cast her out without mercy, who had told her she was worthless. Now he knelt before her, begging. She thought about how easy it would be to send him away, to let him feel even a fraction of the pain she had once felt. But she found, to her own surprise, that she no longer wanted revenge. The woman he had wronged was gone. In her place stood someone who no longer needed his approval, his throne, or his love to know her own worth. "Rise, Darius," she said gently. He looked up, hope flickering in his tired eyes. "When you cast me out," Kira said, her voice clear enough for all to hear, "I thought my life was over. I believed you when you said I was weak and worthless. For a long time, I carried that pain. But I learned something, in the years that followed." She paused. "I learned that my value was never yours to give, and it was never yours to take away. I was never weak. I simply had not yet discovered my strength." Darius lowered his head in shame. "You ask me to return," she continued. "You ask me to save you, and to rule at your side. But I do not need a throne beside yours. I have built something of my own, something greater than the pack you lost, and I built it out of the very people you and others threw away." The crowd murmured in agreement. Kira stepped down from the platform and stood before him. She was not cruel, and she was not cold. When she spoke again, her voice softened. "I will not let you suffer," she said. "I have the gift of healing, and I will ease the pain of the broken bond so that you may live. That much mercy I can give freely, but I will not return to be your queen, Darius. Not because I hate you, but because I have already become something you cannot offer me. I am free, and freedom is worth more than any crown." Darius closed his eyes. He had come hoping to win her back, and instead he understood, at last, the true measure of what he had lost. Not just a mate, but a woman stronger and wiser than he had ever known himself to be. "Thank you," he whispered. "You are far greater than I deserved." Kira placed her hand gently upon his brow. A soft silver light flowed from her fingers, and the deep ache of the broken bond eased away. Color slowly returned to his face. For the first time in many moons, he felt he might truly live again. But he also knew, without a doubt, that he would spend the rest of his days remembering the day he threw away the best thing that had ever come into his life. Kira turned and walked back to her people. They welcomed her with warm smiles and open arms, the outcasts who had become a family, the forgotten who had found a home. She had come into the world believing she was ordinary. She had been told she was weak, unworthy, and plain. And she had risen above every cruel word to become a leader whom an entire land looked up to. The beautiful Omega Darius had chosen had brought his kingdom to ruin. The mate he had rejected had become a queen who never needed him at all. And as Kira looked out at the crowd who loved her, she smiled, not for what she had lost long ago, but for everything she had found within herself along the way. She had never needed anyone to make her strong. She had only needed to believe that she already was.